Hi guys, okay, I'm working on this Genie S65 boom here today, and I just had a little bit of issue with it. I just want to go over it with you guys in case you're having the same problem. So from the basket or from the ground, I didn't have the jib up or down function, and I didn't have the jib rotate, which is right here. So that's the one that rotates the basket back and forth, and this jib goes up and down, so that wasn't functioning. And the fact that those two weren't working together makes sense because they're actually both run off the same solenoid, which is this one right here. Same solenoid and valve, two solenoids, one valve. So I'll just quickly go over what was wrong and just sort of talk about how it works so you can sort of diagnose the problem. So for me, the switches weren't working at the basket and at the bottom. So that's a good way to verify pretty quickly that the switches aren't the issue. So like the switches up here weren't working. And when I did activate the switches up here, I could hear an audible change in the RPM of the engine, which means it was trying to do something. So the way that these two particular functions work is if you want to rotate, let's say you want to rotate the basket this way or that way, you activate the switch for that particular function, and then it sends a signal down to the solenoid in the machine down at the bottom, and it just activates the valve and allows fluid to flow up through here. To rotate this rotational cylinder, I guess it's called here, and that's what moves the basket. But then if you want the jib to go up and down, it activates the same solenoid down at the bottom, and it puts fluid through the same two lines coming up to the boom, except there's another little solenoid here which diverts the flow from rotating the basket to moving the jib up and down. So the only reason they put that up here is to avoid having two more lines going down to the main unit via this carriage here. So it just saves two lines by putting another solenoid here. So if you don't have those two functions, it's likely this either valve or solenoid. So what happens is, so if you want to check the switch, let's say, to make sure the switch is functioning, if you don't hear any audible RPMs, you can just take these connectors off and then activate it, whether left or right. And if you don't get 12 volts coming through here, you're gonna have to figure out if it's a wiring issue. So if you are getting 12 volts through here, it means obviously power is getting to the solenoid and something's either wrong with the solenoid or the valve itself. In my particular case, the valve blew an O-ring, so I'll show you that. And I'm also going to show you replacing it here so that it works again. And for my case, I forgot to mention, the basket would rotate to the right, but it wouldn't rotate to the left. And that's because only one of the O-rings was blown out of this, and the other O-ring was starting to go, so the other function that did actually work was very slow. But anyway, so you only need to take this off here, this nut. So I'll take this nut off. And then these just slide off. And then another quick way to test them, so let's say you wanted to see if it was the valve or the solenoids. These two solenoids here, which are for a different function, I can't remember what it is right now, but you can just move these two solenoids and put them right over top of this valve. And if the function that is on this valve works, then you know there's something wrong with the solenoid. But for me, I moved this over and I activated these solenoids here, and I still didn't have the functionality, so it narrowed it down to the valve itself. So okay, so I'll take this out as well. And there's this little spacer here. I mean, sometimes it tries to fall out right here. Put that off the side. And then I'm just gonna crack this loose and we'll get this out and I'll show you. Okay, so I had to take that one off just to get some room to get the wrench in, but this is what they look like. And that second O-ring up was the one that was not working. You can see that one on the top there is starting to split. So I just found some O-rings from Princess Auto that are very close to the right ones, but they're a little bit off. And I think that's what someone did with this one that's splitting here before. They used one that's very close, but it's not quite right. So eventually they're gonna fail. So I went to Genie and I got this valve kit here, because actually you can buy the valve, you can buy the whole valve with the solenoids if you want, but the solenoid and the valve is like $550 Canadian. which if you don't need it, it's kind of ridiculous. And then just the valve itself, I think, is 150 bucks. It includes the O-rings. Or you can just buy the O-rings for 32 bucks, which is still kind of crazy for 4 O-rings, but they are the exact right ones. And a couple of them are white. The 2 in question are white, and they're obviously have a different material. They're a little harder than just nitrile rubber, and they're obviously the exact right dimension. So do yourself a favor. If you need to get the machine running to work, you can use just standard O-rings. I can't remember what size it was, but if you just get the assorted pack, you find the closest one, it will work. But don't think it's going to last for a very long time until you get the right ones. And these are the right ones. So you can screenshot that if you want. I don't know if that's the part number, and then you got this part number here. Okay, so I'll replace these off camera just because I only have one hand here, and then I'll show you just 4 screw back. Okay, there they are back on. So they give you the black one there, brown one to the left, and then 3 different size white ones. Small, medium, large. So I'll put that back in, and we should be good to go. So I'll just tighten that down, put the solenoids back on, and we're back in business.